Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jeffrey. Francois, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you? This lovely Monday morning.
Good. I am sleepy peepee, as we call it. I had my 10-year high school reunion on Saturday.
How was that?
It was fun. I think that, I don't know kind of what like the stigma sounds like the weird word to call it, but like the reputation of 10-year reunions kind of being like
Right.
super cringy. You know what I mean? People are like, oh, it's
Yeah.
like a lame thing that like you don't want to go to.
Yeah.
Okay. Ours cost $60. It included entertainment, food, and alcohol. It was at a rooftop of like a virtual golf entertainment facility in Alpharetta. So like a money area. I was like, y'all, this is cool. Like we need to go to this. So we did. That was a lot of fun. I went with, some of my close friends that, you all have maybe heard me mention at least once or twice.
Yeah.
But got to catch up with a lot of people that I hadn't seen in, 10 years, which was crazy. And then yesterday we spent all day at Red Top Beach with the kiddos. So we had little baby Chloe with us for a while, and then she had to go home. And then I had my niece and nephew Aria and Jax there, and Jax just like slept the whole time, which is great. It's always easy when an infant is like, yeah, I'm not going to fuss about the beach. I'm just going to go to bed. So yeah, I was out in the sun all day yesterday. So I am lay tired. But how was your weekend?
Yeah, sun tired is a different type of tired than like exhausted, like stress tired.
It takes it out of you.
It does. It does. Yeah, no, I did nothing really. I relaxed over the weekend, and I have a motorcycle that I've been fixing up, and so I was fixing that up.
You have a
Change the oil.
motorcycle?
I do. Yeah.
I've worked with you for nearly 2 years.
I've never talked about it.
I don't want to scream into the microphone. 2 years. And you've never mentioned it.
Yeah, I got it 4 years back when I moved to Pittsburgh, and it's just been sitting in my garage because I've been traveling. First I was doing Pittsburgh to California, and then Pittsburgh to Atlanta. So it's just like never had any time. So it's been sitting there for 4 years. So it just took an opportunity to, change the battery, change the oil, flush the gas today, change maybe the spark plug over the weekend. A whole bunch of things that need to be done to it just because it's been sitting there for so long. So I might have to change the tires, a whole bunch of stuff.
You're an enigma.
It's fun.
Good Lord. I will never figure you out. Did you pack at all?
No. So I did not actually do any of that. I'm looking around the room right now, and it's just like we laid out a bunch of stuff and didn't put anything in boxes. So it's going to be a fun next few weeks.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be busy, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Man, well, you know what? That's interesting too. Didn't you say that you are going to buy all new furniture for your new place?
We are. Yeah. But it's just like all the holiday decorations every year. I feel like we just buy more and more. And so we like brought a bunch up from like the storage and just like toss it around the room. And we had a lot more than we thought we did under the bed. And so we just pulled out like boxes and containers of things that we didn't realize that we had because they were all the way in the middle of the bed. So we were never reaching under there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to go through a bunch of stuff, but yeah, buying all new furniture. And actually that's a great
That's why I did it. Yeah.
You
you left fielded over to holiday decorations. I'm talking about using your phone and saying, is that couch going to look good in this new living room?
That's a very good point.
Because that's what we're talking about today is the augmented reality marketing. So let's go on ahead and bring on our guest of the day, Rich Watson, calling in from Vietnam. Rich, hello. Good evening to you, dear. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Doing wonderful. So you mentioned before it is very hot in Vietnam. You said it's 38 degrees Celsius, which is 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We had to look that up before the show, but that it was quite hot for an Englishman. How did you make it over to kind of the other half of the world?
You know what? It was just backpacking. It's like the normal story, right? I went backpacking and I was just like, yeah, maybe I'll live out here for a while, and just sort of stayed here for almost 6 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you backpacked the whole way?
Well, no. So I just came backpacking. It was just me and my brother, actually. We just came to like, the normal route around Southeast Asia, like Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. But funny story is I wasn't even meant to end up in Da Nang. Like the city I'm in now, it's known for, it's known for a little bit of history with like military history and things like that. But mainly it's really where people fly in to go to Hoi An, which is the historical town next to us, and Hue, which is the old capital. So on my route, I was just going to go to Hue, I was just going to go to Hoi An, I was going to go down to Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon. And then I stopped in here and I just love this place. I just went, I think I'll check it out for a little while. 6 months was the initial idea, but that 6 months is now 6 years.
6 years. We keep hearing that story. It's like, I'll be here for like 12 months. And then they're like, 12 years later, here I still am.
Yeah.
We need to go on a backpacking trip, Francois. You need to go ahead and just cancel this lease that you just signed.
Cancel everything and just go off to Southeast Asia.
Now is the time. Now is the time. Well, and how did you get into augmented reality marketing, Rich? Just kind of tell us your story. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. So part of my my idea to come out to Southeast Asia and live here was to support myself on, doing the digital nomad thing. My original plan was to move around, but as you know now, I didn't really do that. So I started to do drop shipping. Was my first taste of sort of working online, because I never really had any other goals other than make money off my laptop. That was literally what I wanted to do. I wanted to just have the bare minimum things. I just didn't really want to own anything. I just want to have a laptop and just work wherever I wanted. So I started doing drop shipping, and it basically slowly evolved into doing Facebook ads for e-commerce brands, because I started to help other people. And then from there, I developed work with agencies, and I actually ended up starting my own agency in early 2020. My agency was mainly based on lead generation. So I was working for event companies in London mainly, and there's a couple others. And that was just before we all know what happened. When everything suddenly shut down, right? So I literally probably started a lead generation agency for events at the worst time possible. So coming out of that, I focused back on e-commerce again. So I was working with a few agencies. I was sort of consulting, helping hire their team, build their teams, things like that. And then we started to experiment. Well, I started to experiment with augmented reality marketing for some of the clients of the agency that I was working for. Mm-hmm. And then had some amazing results. And I started to think, this is a digital, creative format you can use in ads, which no one's really using. And, I really want to start like experimenting and showing other people like what they could do with augmented reality ads. That's why I formed Augmented Hype. And since then it's been awesome.
Wonderful. And just for terminology clarification, because there's augmented reality, there's AI, which is artificial intelligence, and then VR, which is virtual reality. I feel like the non-technologically inclined person, me, kind of just use these interchangeably. Can you explain to us the difference between VR, AR, and AI?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it happens a lot. I think it's just because they're all emerging almost at the same time, and they're all quite familiar, unfamiliar territories, and coming out together. So AI is artificial intelligence, which is not really anything I know anything about, apart from some of the tools I use that use artificial intelligence to write copy, to create videos with artificial intelligence sort of people and things like that. Absolutely amazing. So that's really using some, I'm going to sound really not knowledgeable about this, but I'm guessing some sort of algorithm to determine from data like how to put some stuff together. So whether it's copy, it's sort of using SEO, and it's using commonly searched things to create like ad copy for you. And for video, it's going to be, I don't know, putting together a load of different mesh of people's faces to create a human and make them talk, which sounds a bit creepy actually when I'm talking about it. So that's AI. I don't think I've really sold AI. VR and AR are very closely linked, but they really have a separate space. So best way to describe it is VR, you're stepping into VR. Like the space is a virtual one. Obviously, it stands for virtual reality. So, it usually comes through a headset, and you're going into the VR. AR is augmented reality. So augmented is upgrading, basically, and reality is your reality. So it's actually overlaying digital assets onto your reality. So you can sort of see the difference there. And then just to get even more confusing, you have mixed reality, which is basically VR and AR mixed together. So you put the VR goggles on, and then it overlays VR assets within your reality, which is not either, but it's like a mix of both of them. So you can see how they're all really closely linked like that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is, I can see where the mixed reality would be helpful. You guys ever watch the videos of people with the Oculus on their head or whatever, and then they trip over their ottoman in their living room because they're trying to run away? I feel like that would be helpful to like prevent a lot of injuries in folks'
See
homes.
what's going on around.
Yeah.
You should have like a warning sign come up, like something's there, your dog's there.
Yes, the notification system like you have on cars with the there's somebody next to you. Don't turn quite yet. That would be super helpful.
You would think that would be natural to sort of just implement to something that's covering your entire face. I mean, I'm sure when they first came up with it, they probably thought of this being used in like a controlled environment, and now we're just using it in our living rooms.
And sometimes they are. Have you seen the ones where there's like I don't know where these exist at, but I've seen videos where you like, yes, you're like on a track and you can like actually like run around and stuff. That is the trippiest thing ever. I still feel like I would fall. I would be the one. They'd be like, nobody's ever fallen until this one woman walked in here, and then we had to call an ambulance. That would be me. So talk to us a little bit about how augmented reality kind of steps into the marketing world then, or vice. Yeah, because augmented reality is going into your reality. So how does AR get into the marketing world, other than being able to see how a couch is going to look in your living room? Because that's really the only application of it that I know.
Yeah. And this is the thing. This is the biggest thing about augmented reality marketing is there's not been that many iterations of it. And the people who have used it have used mainly the augmented reality experience, like I will call try on or like real world. So they're basically putting something within your back camera if you're using a phone or on yourself. So it's sort of like those two. And that tends to be the most common one we know because, we know about Snapchat filters, Instagram filters, and they're things that interact with our face and, ones we put in our room. But then you have loads of different range, like a whole different range of different filters. So you have gamified filters, ones where you're like immersed into a game. You might have seen the Squid Game one. That was created by a guy in Singapore, the guy I know, who got 500 million organic impressions on that game, which is insane. If you imagine that, how much that would have cost you in ads spend to get that much. So that things like that, the fact that this immersive experience, and there's so many different ways you can roll it out for certain brands, depending on already how you're sort of communicating with the audience, it can have so many massive benefits, like organically and paid. You can use it in so many different ways. And really, it's just about re-envisioning how you're already building that relationship with people and how you can make it more immersive and more personalized. Because we know like advertising is becoming, paid advertising is becoming harder to personalize ads because we haven't got the granular view we used to be able to have. So that's actually sort of why I started to look at AR ads. It was sort of, how can I make this ad not only stand out in the newsfeed, but how can I make it as immersive as possible? And yeah, that's basically where we're focusing the augmented reality marketing for now, is on the Meta platforms, so Facebook and Instagram, for on-feed ads. So ads you'll see just like a normal Facebook ad, but when you click on it, it opens up your camera, which can be a little bit alarming for people who are not used to what it is. So you'll always have an element of it telling you what's going to happen. This is how you use this filter. This is what's going to happen. And then you can just, give people the most personal ad they could ever have, because they become a subject of the ad rather than it just being something they sort of flick past.
Interesting.
And can we break that down a little bit more? So, for example, when you start to work with a brand, how do they know that augmented reality is even an option and that it's the right option for them to use in their advertising?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I've recently created just this free video I've got on my YouTube. If anyone follows me afterwards, they can have a look, where I basically go over 7 different AR ad strategies for Facebook marketing mainly, and ways that you can use the AR experience in all of these different sort of formats and what sort of verticals they would fit with. So it's not really one would fit with one and this wouldn't fit with another. It's just how you would envision it. So I think the best way of doing it would be, what's the emotion or what's the experience you want them to have, and what do you want them to take away, or how do you want them to remember you? And then you can start to really sort of think about, what pain points do you solve? How can you actually help this person? And how can you, put that into an experience in a way? So I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. If you're like a skin product, for example, you can show, this blusher or something, it does a certain thing to your skin, and potentially this could be something you could try on your face, and you wouldn't even be able to try it on in the store. They wouldn't just let you go in and start putting something on. So you're really trying to give people that confidence that they're going to be getting from the end result of having your product before they even actually receive it. So if you think about, how quickly that can help people make decisions, it skips a lot of steps that they would have to go through if they were to go to the, look at the product and then read a bit about it and this and this and this. You sort of skip through those. So really, I think that's, in summary, like the best way is like, what do you want them to take away from it? Like, how do you want them to feel? And then you can put that into an AR.
So AR marketing then would largely, just from that example and kind of like the ways to apply it that I'm thinking of, would you say that it works best or kind of exclusively for product-based businesses as opposed to a service-based business? Because it's kind of hard to, I don't know, convey that experience with a service. Like if you need a plumber and your living room's flooded, like I hold it up in my limit, like, it's just, am I correct in that thinking?
It's a little bit, yeah, but it's because it's such a new, well, it's not really that new, but for marketing purposes anyway, it's quite a new model of looking at for advertising. So it's quite hard to link something so direct like that. But I've honestly seen AR experiences for like software and things like that. It's really, you wouldn't think of it, but it's just the way in which they're getting the message across. The only way I could sort of imagine, like when you were first, video ads were first a thing, everyone probably would have thought, oh, it has to be someone talking to the camera and then da-da-da-da-da. And of course it like evolved from there, but we aren't able to see because there hasn't already been things within our, certain people's brands verticals that they can see it happening. They haven't seen these use cases, so they don't know it happens. But if you're able to like come up with that concept first, imagine how powerful it can actually be. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, like for product-based things, it's much more obvious because we've seen so many examples of it. For SaaS and for service, I definitely think it can have just the same amount of, the same effect, but it's just about, what the concept is going to be basically, and it's really up to you how it works. Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry, Francois, I cut you off before.
No, I was just gonna. My immediate thought when you say like anything can be done, for example, putting makeup on the skin, that way you see how it actually looks. My immediate thought is you need like some genius to actually code this. You need some super genius that knows exactly how it would look. And not only that, but you would also need like models to show like the before and afters. That way you could tell the computer what they're going to look like before and after, and probably use AI within it. How does all that work for someone that's so fresh to it and a business or a brand owner that wants to get into this? I guess, how do you sort of alleviate some of those concerns?
Yeah, that's also a question. So this is the thing, it's becoming a much more widely available tool for everybody. So all of the platforms, the biggest platforms, Snapchat, TikTok have just released their platform actually, Effect House, which is their AR side of their business. And of course, Meta, we know Spark AR. And all of these platforms, all of these sub-platforms for the platforms have their own communities, and they have their way of teaching the creators, and it's all free. So there's people all across the world, especially countries like Vietnam, India, South America, where there's so much talent because people have so much raw talent, and they're able to use these, the capabilities of these platforms to be able to create this AR. And the community are really willing to share and help each other. So they basically made it, well, essentially, like Spark AR is probably the one I have the most knowledge on, so I could speak on that. But the community essentially create the capabilities of the AR. So they will go through a lot of competitions. So at the moment, actually, there's a competition to create a real world filter. So a lot of people are making portals. So a portal filter is my favorite. This is incredible. Maybe you've seen one before, but essentially what it is this portal opens up, so it can just be a circle, a wormhole, or it could be a door, and you step in to a virtual space essentially, but it's still in AR. So your space, you go through into another space that doesn't exist, but of course it's within the AR space. So now people are making these. I think I got on a bit of a tangent here.
No, it's okay. I think I've actually seen one of those before. Were you with me with the little red door in the city, or was I with Jack?
I think Jack.
Okay. Somebody has apparently taken these little red doors and placed them throughout the city of Atlanta, and you can scan the door, and then it like, you can't step into it, but it does like open up and you can like kind of see inside of it, and then like a bunch of butterflies fly out of it or something. I think I've seen something. I've seen that. Sounds like it's kind of similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah,
sorry.
Exactly. It's one really similar. So we're just working with an Italian life brand, and they're basically helping people who'd like to move to Italy and start a life there and learn a bit more about it, usually from US, UK, European countries like that. And actually what the AR experience is olive tree, and within the olive tree there's a portal, and inside the portal there's a 3D landscape of an olive garden. So you put this olive tree in your space, and you can pretty much poke your head in and look around like this and sort of imagine you're in Italy. So that's the idea of it. But these things like this is like, you could just, you're entering a completely different space from within AR. So it's like quite complicated. But anyway, working way back to your question, it's really becoming much more, the capability is becoming much more available to everybody. And that's also part of like what I'm, one of my missions is to try and help marketers and brands and agencies understand how they can use these. And, even like how can they can get inspiration to create this, AR experiences and things like that, and how it would, fit with their brand and, what the benefits are. So it's sort of, becoming a lot more, and also besides that, people are also creating loads of different platforms on web AR where you can actually go and you can have your own AR created within the app and things like that. And of course, the platforms, Shopify and things like that, are all integrating services like that. So it's becoming a lot more widely available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was going to say that's probably the way that I know it best is like definitely ads. Like, we've talked about when you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram and it pulls up the, the in-feed ad and you're kind of immersed in it. But it's not just the ads, it's the experience on the site too. Where I feel like it kind of has the most power, like you said, like the try on and things like that. So you said Shopify has an integration to be able to start doing these things. Is this common for a lot of like, I guess, non-Amazon brands to have? That's a lot of the conversations we have are with Amazon sellers, and obviously Amazon doesn't have that capability, at least not yet. I don't know.
No, they have it.
They do, like in the storefronts and stuff?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, for a lot of furniture.
Look at that. I've never bought furniture off of Amazon. Clearly.
But it's not widely adopted yet. So I know like Shopify, for example, acquired a app called Primer, and Primer deal with AR experiences and 3D product and things like that. But I haven't actually seen that many people using them. And I don't know whether that's because they're rolling. I mean, all of the platforms who are doing things like this. So for an example, Instagram and Facebook are rolling out AR catalogs, like, dynamic catalogs, but in AR, but they're doing it in better. They're just doing it in secret at the moment and testing a few people out. So I think that Shopify and all these other people are doing it in secret. And I'm not even, as the AR guy, I'm not even like find access to these things yet. But the fact that people, this is another thing that people are sort of a little bit uncertain with AR. The fact that you can see Meta and Snapchat and Pinterest and Google and Samsung, they're all not only creating their own AR glasses, but they're all investing so much money to AR, and they're testing all these things out to make sure the capabilities, are suitable for everyone. It really shows you there's something brewing in this area.
Mm-hmm. When did all kind of this like start off? Like we've even said everything's kind of getting adopted all at the same time, right? AI, AR, and VR. I'm going to trip myself up soon. But like, when was this kind of introduced to what was the first application of AR, I guess? Is that like documented somewhere?
Do you know what? I don't even know the date. I think it's a long time ago, like maybe even 2013 or something like that. Because there's been definite like uses of it, but it was just very rudimental. I think it's a rapper or something. It's music, something like that. Anyway, they've had these. I feel like it's having a second wind at the moment because I feel like the pandemic has it's definitely forced a lot of behaviors of people shopping online, and people who are not necessarily comfortable doing things digitally are now doing things digitally. We know how, the stocks of Zoom just flew through the roof, and meetings like this are commonplace. And they're just accelerated, I guess. And along with that, things like AR and VR and this whole immersive area have taken off as well. So yeah, it's sort of been something for quite a long time. And there's most of Meta's case studies you'll see for augmented reality ads are actually from 2018, which is when they rolled out. Well, I think it's when they acquired Spark AR. So then they started to attach that to the back of the ads manager, so you can then create AR experiences and put them straight into ads. And then over the last couple of years, I think people have become a bit shy with investing in certain things, and then now we're coming out the other side, touch wood, where people are much more open to looking at these different ways of communicating and building audiences and building customers. So I think it's just leading to much mass adoption. And one of the censuses which I quote quite a lot from Snapchat on the AR adoption, it's basically doubled every year. So 2022 is meant to be just over 1 billion people using AR worldwide, and that's not just AR marketing. That's like AR just uses. I think AR marketing is about 200 million people, which is still pretty big. And then by 2025, it's likely to be up to 2 or 3, I think, billion people.
Wow.
Almost half the world.
2025. I mean, 2025. Getting my
it's not far off, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the adoption is definitely on the way up, for sure.
That's crazy.
And so we talked a little bit about, how brands need to think about what they want to deliver, what type of experience they want to deliver first. But as they're going through sort of the back end of Facebook or using Spark, do they need any type of fancy equipment to start to develop their type of AR? If someone wants to just try it out themselves before coming to an agency to scale it up, I guess, can you walk us through that process?
Yeah, sure. So you mainly need, so the creators will create the AR experience, but you also need the actual 3D asset to put within the experience. And of course, most creators will do that for you. But there are actually now apps like, I can't remember the name of it now. There's basically apps on your phone where you can scan in 3D. And I've actually been testing it yesterday. That's why I've already forgotten the name. I can't remember the name, but you can basically use your iPhone 13 and up would have the capabilities of this, because actually it's this little camera here, that one there. I can't remember the name of the camera. All these names have just escaped me now. But anyway, you can use it to 3D scan things, so you'll be able to have your own 3D asset of anything you want. You can create it yourself. It's quite hard to get it accurate. You need to spend a bit of time. I think you do probably need a bit of dev, because these things are, again, quite early on. So anyway, that's the first component. Obviously, if you're going to be having experience with loads of 3D assets, then you're going to need lots. For example, if you want a 3D video or 3D image, then that's going to have your surroundings if you're going to use something in that way. Or if it's going to be like something like a try-on, then you'll just want to have a 3D version of it. And then you can use, basically, depending on what platform you want this to be on. So if you want it on Meta ads, you'll use Spark AR. And then you can put it into their AR platform, and then it goes into the back of Ads Manager. So you could learn a little bit of how to do it yourself, but yeah, it's better to find someone who's gonna have a bit more experience, I think.
More skilled in it. So how would getting a 3D? I can't do it. I don't have an iPhone 13, but I just imagine turning on scan, putting, I don't know, the water bottle on a little tabletop Lazy Susan and spinning it really slowly so that I can get pictures of all sides. Is it that basic?
Yes.
That's the only thing that really?
Yeah.
But it's cool.
So much more. Obviously, it's not as accurate as it could be yet. There's a much better way of doing it. But yes, that's probably the best way of doing it. I practiced with this room. This is my office/living room. And I did a 3D of this space, and it came out like crap, to be honest. But what was really cool about it is how quick I could do it. And it was so quick that I managed to get the dog in it as well. She was just laying down asleep, and she got up to move, but I still managed to get there. So It just gives you a glimpse into the future of how easy these things are going to be to get on your phone and be able to do it. So
Yeah. I guess this will all bode well for the metaverse, right? So you can like travel to
Yeah.
different places
Oh, they're
virtually.
probably saving all of it, and then they're gonna see like, oh, how does this fit into the metaverse and all these different products, and how are they actually gonna be scaling them within the metaverse? It seems like it's all progressing to that no matter what. They're doubling down
Mhm.
on it. I mean, they just also lost their COO after what, like 10 years of her being
Right.
there. And I mean, I think a big part of it is because they are doubling down on the metaverse. They need someone to guide them to be more digital, I guess. More digital. That's
100%.
weird to even say because they are extremely digital. They are all digital.
Yeah.
But so when they create this creative, you talked about having a video out there for 7 strategies of how they can use it or how they can implement it. Can you walk us a little bit through sort of do you use this typically at top of funnel? Do you use this for retargeting? I guess, how are you seeing your clients use this mostly?
Really good question. Yeah. So actually, we've done quite a few AR experiences where there are multiple parts of the funnel. So the best example I have is a cosmetic brand, and what we did was we had a more gesture-based experience for the top of the funnel, because obviously at the moment, with AR being a fairly new thing, the novelty aspect of doing the gesture is actually very powerful. So
What's a
what it would,
gesture?
it was basically like doing that
Oh,
because it was
okay.
lipstick. So that gesture, I mean, a bit of background about the brand, it's mainly for older women, and apparently older women still do, even with makeup. I'm not a makeup expert, but even with lipstick, you don't need to do this with everyone still sort of spreads it around. Is that right? Is that what people do? Lisa,
You certainly don't need to. I do feel like it's a practice of maybe the older population that is wearing lipstick because now what we make it out of is so different, and
exactly.
everybody, like not really everybody does like the hard line anymore, but also like depending on like how deep your I forget what this is called, but like how deep your
Filtering.
peak is, like you can't, like if I do that, I've got Kylie Jenner situation going on. But yeah.
So yeah, it's for people who are a little bit older and they may have that memory of doing that. So the gesture based one would basically, whenever you did the gesture, it would change the color. So it would just let you
Oh.
explore a load, and then there's still a call to action. People still go through and buy, and they did. And then the second one is retargeting people who'd gone into that instant experience, because within Meta platforms, mainly on Facebook ads, it sits within the instant experience, which used to be called Canvas ads, if anyone knows those, but now it's called instant experience. And when people spend time in instant experience, it's as if they're watching a video. So you get the data of they stayed in there for this long. So of course, the fact that people actually spend almost double the time in instant experience, and it's no shocker why. It's because it's their face. Who doesn't want to see their face for 60 seconds? We're able to basically retarget people who'd spent longer in the instant experience with another experience, with another AR experience. And then the second one, which was lower down the funnel to re-engage people, was a carousel. And it would basically be the most popular ones. And then you can have call to action, go through, and it will go to a landing page with just the popular ones. And then what happened is people then stacked their cart because they were able to see, oh, actually, this shade, I wasn't expecting this shade to look good on me, but it does. And this one, I'm not usually go for that sort of color, but this. So it's like bringing people in where they are and converting them where they are in the same way. And there's been a couple of examples of things like that.
Interesting. It almost seems counterintuitive isn't the right word, but like it's an interesting concept to use AR advertising or AR marketing to target an older audience.
Right.
Because depending on how old we're talking here, like they may not even adopt this kind of technology, and it's they might not see it as actual advertising. Like everybody's using their Snapchat filters like on their babies and like with their grandmas and stuff like that, but they might not see it as an ad. It's just like, oh, that's a fun toy. Okay. Like I guess you at that point in time, then it's depending on the segment that you're trying to target of that audience, ones that would
the older people keep surprising us, right? Like first of all, it's Facebook.
It's true.
Facebook became the thing that older people did, and now it's like everybody thinks old people do it. And then it was TikTok, and everyone's like, "There's no way everyone's going to go TikTok. It's just kids dancing around." And now TikTok's huge, and I feel like it's going to be the same thing. And I don't know if we just don't give them credit, but or it's just because it's. my parents anyway, they're quite, I don't know how to say this nicely. They're scared of technology. So maybe that's sort of assumption.
That's a nice way to say it.
That is.
Yeah. But no, they had the same feeling with the brand. They were like, there's no way this can do it, but it had really amazing results for them. And really, it was just about making sure that you're demonstrating how the technology works. And as I said earlier, making sure you tell people it's going to open a camera, because that is a little bit alarming if you're not aware of it. And yeah, it can have a really positive effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so what sort of returns are we seeing versus standard ad or static ads and video ads when you go into augmented reality ads?
Yeah, so one of the case studies I cover in one of my bits of content, we're working with a baby's sunglasses brand. And
a baby's sunglasses.
Cute. Sorry, go ahead.
I know, it was really, that's the thing I talk about. It's really, how is it so hard to beat their current creative, and their creative are doing really well because it was a cute baby with sunglasses on. But they had the biggest problem they had was like people not understanding what it's going to look like or how it's going to fit and what the style is like and things like that. So AR was perfect for them. But not only that, but again, like going back to the example I just gave of the lipstick, people were trying on multiple pairs and their AOV increased by 60%. So instead of people buying like one or two, they're buying four. So that basically, that alone, and the fact that the ads were a little bit cheaper because the CRM was lower because competition is a bit lower, they ended up getting from about 2x return to about 6x. And I think they still have that ad going now. I don't know if I think they turn it on and off occasionally, but it has such staying power as well. It's not something people just get. It doesn't fatigue. People don't get annoyed and turn it off. So it's really positive effects.
But is there, so in the example of baby sunglasses, like I said, I spent the weekend with some babies, and this is true of adults as well, but like babies have such different sized and shaped heads. Like some of them got great big old noggins, some of them are little tiny things. And the sunglasses, I don't know. I feel like there can't be a one size fits all. So is there not an element of like the adult, because these babies aren't doing this themselves, having to like take the circumference of the kid's head and put it in so that they can be served like which size would, like, you know, if there's different sizes of the, you know, sunglasses? Because there's no point. I guess what I'm getting to is there not a certain level of interaction that maybe would turn somebody off to using it? Or is there, if there's not that much interaction to where we have to give a lot of information or input, do the returns on the product not then increase? Because I can buy one pair of little baby sunglasses and put them on two kids of the same age, and they might fit one better than the other one. You know what I mean? So like at that point in time, then I'm going to return them if they don't fit my kid, you know? Well, if they're too small, really, they'll grow into it. But do you get my question? Is this making any sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. Because that was a big concern of theirs too. So the capabilities of Spark AR at the time we did it they don't fit the head. They just fit like you basically, like with AR, you're already putting the data. How can I explain this? You can't change things like at the time.
Okay.
That's why I'm explaining it. But yeah, like for example, you could easily have a range of sizes that you could try out on a carousel or something like that, but it wouldn't fit the fat head and a small head. So that was basically all taken care of afterwards, like within on their site. But I think the way that it's going now is that you could actually probably get around that in a different way. So that was a huge concern of theirs too. But actually, what was really interesting about the example of the baby sunglasses is that they actually had less returns afterwards, and it's mainly because that was a really big concern for parents. But another really big concern was the style and which style fit them, because they were quite cartoony because they're like for children.
Sure.
And I don't know if it's like just people looking at them on their own. They just they didn't carry the quality that they did when they were in the Air experience. So that led to people actually, returning them a little bit less. And it also solved a lot of customer service issues they were having before.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Who would have known? AR for babies.
Yeah, AR for babies. And so you mentioned that the competition is somewhat lower. Do we have data on how many companies are using AR advertising versus video and static?
No, I mean there are some censuses that put out by like Snapchat and things like that, They don't tend to like cover the companies using them. They only really go into like how many consumers are using them and things like that.
Gotcha.
But I'd probably wager it was quite low, and it tends to be because it's only the very big established companies that use AR, and that also might be the reason people are scared away from it, because they're just assuming it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars or something, and it's not at all. It's actually it can be very affordable. Obviously, it completely depends on the nature of the experience. But I think that's one reason that sort of people shy away from it. But I would love that data too, because most of the time people are asking me for examples, and I'm just like, they're just not there. Like either the people I'm working with, we have an NDA and they don't want me to share, or the same thing for other people in other studios and things like that. Or they're just the big companies are hogging all the AR and everybody else can't use it.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question was, is it even an affordable marketing option for businesses? Because like I said, it's the big ones that are using it. I don't know, probably not IKEA, but like larger furniture brands. I can't think of any. What's a fancy one? West Elm, maybe?
I'm sure IKEA is doing something. West Elm's, they might be, but I didn't see anything on their website.
Yeah, when you were doing all of your furniture buying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the furniture just makes sense, like canvases, any sort of decor. Also home improvement as well. I was talking to an agency who deal with a lot of home improvement and, that sort of area. And they had a brand that like do roofing. And she was like, well, how would AR work for roofing? And I was like, well, imagine you go outside your house and you look up at your house and you have a lot of roofs to try on. You wouldn't be able to do that anywhere else, would you? Like try a roof in the house and you could see it like that. So yeah, I mean, the big boys, they tend to like share their case studies and things they've done, but it usually won't be for another 2 years. And by then it would be, so much more advanced. They'll be like, oh, really? Was that what you were doing? You could have made it much more, more advanced than you did.
And so what sort of budget should a business or a brand be sort of allocating to something like this, to where they can say, I'm investing enough to have something that's quality, but I'm not getting ripped off?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a really good question, because on my sort of competitor research, I've been contacting all of the partners of Meta, the partners of Spark, and finding out how much they charge. And actually, the range of AR can go anywhere from about $5K to $150K. Obviously, it completely depends on. It's the same as if. Yes. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes, USD. So it's sort of the same as if you're doing, looking for a logo. Some logos can cost you like this, some really high, but it really depends on like what the outcome of it is. So you could definitely go to Fiverr and you can get someone to make an augmented reality experience for you for a couple $100, no problem. But are you going to get something that's able to help you convert customers and solve a main pain point for them or get them to feel an emotion, or is it just going to be like a cool thing to like show off to people? So it's sort of. At the moment, there's quite a big gap between very sort of lower quality and this huge people who basically partner with the platforms who charge pretty much whatever they want.
Because there isn't that much to offer in regards to partners with the platform.
Yeah, I guess there's not that much competition, and the people they're being sent are usually huge companies like Netflix are using AR and. Yeah, like McDonald's have loads of gamified AR. These companies are
McDonald's. They just picture a Big Mac in front of you.
Yeah, well, it's a game where I've seen a couple of examples, but there's one where you catch burgers in your mouth, and then if you catch a certain amount, you get like a discount or something. I was like, that's awesome. I definitely play that.
Yeah.
So then what do they have to do by way of like tech? So, and maybe this is just because it's an app. I just remembered I've used AR in another way. It's an app called Living Wine Labels, and there's a couple of different brands of wine. The one that I like is 19 Crimes, and you pull up the Living Wine Labels app, and you scan the wine label essentially, and then the criminal that's on the bottle starts talking and kind of like telling their story a little bit. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
But the load time on this app is garbage. It is so slow. Like, is there any concern when you're kind of deploying this that it's either going to take a long time to load on the phone? I mean, or is it just because it's built into an ad within Facebook or Instagram that you don't have to worry about it? Because like,
exactly,
I've like uninstalled the app before because I'm like, this is trash. It takes like 10 minutes to load up anytime I go to use it. Is that a concern that people need to think about?
I mean, imagine if you've had a couple of glasses of wine as well, and you're trying to look at the label, you're just like all over the place.
Shaking all around.
Yeah, I think that's really only a big concern with web AR, because web AR, you don't have any limitation, or maybe there is, to how much data you can put into it. So probably something like that, which is, I guess, it's app based. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that counts as web AR, but you can have a lot of data on it. With Meta, you can only have 2 megabytes. And it sounds really small, but you can still achieve a very, very detailed aesthetic. Like the stuff that we've been doing looks like the actual product. And that's key, because you don't want to sell something to someone that it's not going to look like. Mm-hmm. So there's no problem with loading. As long as the tracking element fits on, it'll just pick it up just like a QR code. You're away straight away, and you can interact with it almost immediately. So I think that's only really a concern for those people like using these huge data things on web AR.
Gotcha.
That's crazy. I have pictures that are bigger than 2 megabytes.
Yeah,
just 2 megabytes. And so as they're sort of creating these ads, is there a certain, does it follow similar practices for any other ad where they need to lay it out in, a 6-month format, give it a certain amount of time or budget behind it? And do you have any recommended minimums for the AR?
Yeah, 100%. I think it follows exactly the same process. So I always, do the same processes for all of the testing and optimizations that I do with creative. But really, it depends on what the nature of the AR can be used for, I would say. So I can imagine things like, brand awareness generally can probably run for a lot longer than something if it's more conversion based, just because you're probably hitting a more narrow audience or something like that. So I guess there's a lot of different variables that go into it. But I mean, if you're an e-commerce brand, I would just recommend really looking at this from a conversion standpoint, because it doesn't, this is not something that strikes people as a conversion asset, but that's primarily what we've been using for, and we've already had some awesome results from it. So the best way I would say is try and look at what creatives are working at the moment, go for that persona, and then try and figure out how that would actually physically, what that concept looked like in AR, and try and replicate it essentially to get them whatever the desired effect is.
And is there a recommended budget that you would start out with, 75% of whatever your typical ad budget would be for anything else?
Yeah, I'd always start I think any new creative that's, I guess, is a little bit, maybe people feel it's untested, probably around 2 or 2.5 times your CPA. And then you can probably start to bring it back. But what you'll probably notice is that CPM will be lower, as what we were going over a little bit earlier. So that could mean you could actually dip the budget down a little bit. But yeah, of course, any new creative is sort of untested in that persona. So you need to give it a worthwhile budget.
And I guess progressing with this, we've been talking a lot about Facebook ads. Is that where you would recommend to start with AR? Or would you recommend, they need to build out a full funnel? For example, if it's AR on their ad, do they need AR on their Shopify store or on their Amazon listing?
Yeah, I think anywhere you can see, because there's amazing benefits with conversion rates on websites that have either a 3D or an AR component as well. There's so many different ways of using it. I definitely recommend seeing, where you could. I mean, I guess it depends on where your bottleneck is. So if you have a lower conversion website, then you can focus your energy there. Or if you're trying out a new product or a new audience or something like that, then maybe you try the platform based. But for me, I think Meta's just got the paid side really well done at the moment for AR specifically. You can do AR ads on Snapchat, I believe, but I haven't been able to test any of them. And TikTok are keeping their AR ads a bit secret at the moment, but some people are already rolling them out. I think as soon as that becomes widely available, everyone should jump on there, definitely.
Yeah, because with the iOS update, I feel like a lot of brands are looking for alternatives to Facebook ads, right? It's just been so difficult for them to keep tracking their data, and there's no really light at the end of the tunnel as of right now, at least. Well, how is that affecting, how has the iOS update affected AR within the Facebook world, Facebook ad world?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, that's really why I started to look at it more, when I was working with the agencies before, because all of the data that you can get on there is on-app engagement, so it's not affected at all. So you can basically have 3 different customer audiences almost built out from it. You could, the same as you could always have, people who click on the post, and then people who actually watch the video, on the feed that's describing what's going to happen in the AR. And then you can have, again, as we were talking about earlier, the instant experience time. And then you can have people who clicked away from instant experience. So you can actually essentially have all these different data points on, like, how people are, going through that mini funnel, if you will. And then you can have those 3 different custom audiences made up of, people who experience the AR, you can retarget them. People who watched the video, didn't jump into the AR, maybe they need a different AR experience. People who clicked on the ad, all these different things. So none of that's really been affected, essentially, because, and this is why I believe, like, it's never really been truly agreed on, but the general consensus is that Facebook will, give you lower CPMs if you're doing something that keeps people on the platform. Obviously, it's in their main ethos of, giving people the best experience, but it's never really directly been linked to CPM costs. And of course, there's so many different things that go into a CPM, but one of the biggest things is, are you giving people a better experience than your competitors are? And with this, yes, because you're giving people a longer time on their platform, so they tend to give you better. So that's where it really benefits from this. And of course, going from the ad to the site, all the things are still the same. We're still losing visibility on, weak signal and the conversion events, things like that. That's all still the same. But you can definitely use that, on-app engagement data to create some powerful custom audiences.
And are there? Oh, sorry, Lisa. Go ahead.
You're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, are there any different metrics that a brand should be considering or tracking when they're going to AR and they've already been using static or video? I don't even know if static's the right word, but using the other types of ads.
Yeah, well, so you have a suite of different actual metrics within Spark AR. So you can go into the back of Spark AR and you can actually see they have shares, plays, saves. And usually they come from people just interacting with the AR experience itself. You also have another one that's like people who used your AR experience in the video call, just in case you need that. Never know.
Oh, okay.
You can create that. But then within Facebook Ads Manager, you have all of the 4 different ways of looking at the instant experience data. So people who've clicked in, how long they spent in there, and if they've clicked away, and then percentage watched as well. So that's quite easy to tell, even within the AR experience, if there's something you need to tweak around. Like if people are spending a lot of time and not leaving, your call to action is not strong enough. Or if they're coming in and is leaving, maybe they didn't understand how to use AR or something like that. So you can use all these different data points to sort of determine how powerful your actual experience is for them.
Now, looking forward into the future, how far off are we from being able to hold up the phone and our camera making little tiny projections of the actual image, like hologram style? How far off are we? Because I've been waiting on that technology.
I've actually seen that. Well, not off a phone, but I've seen it off a building. So they have the projected AR buildings. I can't remember what the example was. I shared it on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, but there was AR experiences from. I'm still quite confused how it works. Like, is it individual for each people or whatever? But it's basically, I think it tracks you maybe, and like it sort of moves. It's almost like some 3D projection essentially. So I think that's probably not too far off because that could be. But I think the first iteration of the metaverse, I believe it's going to be AR, and that's because we already have the capabilities. They're all building it into their their devices. They're all coming out with their own glasses, and I think Apple's glasses are meant to be rolling out 2023 or maybe even later this year. And every single major big tech company is creating their own AR glasses. So what we're probably going to see is, and of course this is mostly speculation, but I've seen some sort of evidence sort of to back it, is we're all going to have our own unique experience as well as a shared experience where AR is going to be in our everyday lives. Like in cities, you go to a new city and there's things pointing you to where the nearest vegan restaurant is, or if they know that you're looking for a present for someone and it shows you the jewelry shop or something like that. So we're all going to see like an AR version of the metaverse within our actual surroundings, because I think jumping from where we are now to jumping into the VR metaverse where we're all putting things on, it's like Ready Player One basically, that feels like much further off. But we know AR is like already here basically. It just needs the mass adoption. Like people are starting to use their mobiles of course more, but I think glasses are essentially going to be where everybody is using them like quite on a daily basis.
See, I might use the glasses. I'm still not doing the chip, but
no chip, no Neuralink.
I'm still against the chip. But and in general, I'm not one of those people who's like afraid of technology, obviously, but there is some of it that's like a little too much for me. But if my phone can be laying here and I can talk to a little hologram personal assistant and tell her what I have going on over the next 3 weeks, and she being like, you double booked yourself, that would save my life. Like
that would be pretty cool.
That would be the best.
Like a useful Siri. Basically like Siri, but actually useful, and people actually use it.
Yes. Yes. I am here for her. Siri 4.0, because it seems like it'd be way beyond what
more than just how many ounces in a cup or something.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, Rich, thank you so much for your time today. We always like to give our guests an opportunity to kind of plug their business, tell us a little bit more about where we can find more information and maybe what a best fit client would look like to work with your team.
Yeah, sure. So I think if you're interested in learning more about augmented reality marketing, I would definitely urge you to follow me on LinkedIn or follow me on Facebook or Twitter. I'm quite active on Twitter now. My tags are all "It's Rich Watson" on all three of those platforms. And yeah, so Augmented Hype, we help people leverage augmented reality for Facebook and Instagram ads. So if you're interested in looking at how that can work for your business, then definitely reach out. There's tons of content on the website to show you some examples of stuff that we've done as well. But really, I just urge you to if this is something that interests you, just have a look at the content, look at the different platforms that are out there. Spark AR's the one I keep talking about, and see the expanse of things that are going on there. Look at the gallery, get some inspiration, and see how it can fit with your brand.
Awesome. And again, that website is augmentedhype.com. It'll be in the description of the audio and the video. And then you had mentioned a resource on your YouTube channel as well. After we're done being live, everybody, I'll go ahead and grab that link to that video and put it in the description for your use also. So Rich, thank you so much again for being here. We've really appreciated your time.
Thanks. It was great to have a chat with you guys. Cheers.
Cheers
Thanks.
to you. And thank you for everybody who tuned in today. If you guys liked what you heard, be sure to give us a thumbs up, comment with your thoughts, share this episode with your friends, subscribe to the show, and be sure to turn on those notifications. And that way you never miss an episode where we speak with a new leader in supply chain and e-commerce like Rich Watson with Augmented Hype. And everybody have a very happy Monday. We'll see you again later this week. Bye.